while you're in 1 Corinthians, perhaps you would take a look at 1 Corinthians 14, verses 33 to 35.
I have it already, yes.
Which says that, "For God is a God not of disorder but of peace, as in all the congregations of the holy ones. Let the women keep silent in the congregations, for it is not permitted for them to speak. Rather, let them be in subjection, as the law also says. If they want to learn something, let them ask their husbands at home, for it is disgraceful for a woman to speak in the congregation." Now, as I understand it, that's not applied in the Jehovah's Witness organization. In other words, you do allow women to speak in the congregation.
I'm sorry, you have two questions there. Can I answer the first one first? Jehovah's Witnesses do follow what is stated here. I can explain. The second one is, yes, women are allowed to speak in the congregation. May I explain to you the reason why I feel we do follow what is here?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so you notice in verse 34, that's where it says, keep silent. But if you look up at verse 28, there it says, but if there is no interpreter, he must keep silent. So the expression keep silent is referred to a male. And then verse 30, where it's talking about prophets, and then if one, in verse 30 it says, if another one receives a revelation while sitting there, let the first speaker keep silent. So this chapter is talking about orderly conduct in the church meetings or in the congregation meetings. So in verse 28, if someone starts speaking in another language but there's no interpreter, the scripture says, let him keep silent. Now it appears that in the congregation there was a problem because some women were actually challenging, arguing, debating with the men who were taking the lead in giving teaching. Now, you may not feel that that is the case, but that's the context of what is said here. And in chapter 11, it refers to the fact that a woman could speak with a head covering. So I think a very literal interpretation of verse 34 and 35 is not appropriate in the context.
Are you able to give an overarching explanation as to when it is that what is said in the Bible should be taken literally and when it should be given an expansive interpretation as in this instance?
Very good. The answer is Jehovah's Witnesses, you see, it's not a matter of 7 men in the governing body taking one verse and saying, what do you think it means? What do you think it means? Jehovah's Witnesses try to use the Bible to explain itself. So here in 1 Corinthians chapter 4, if we were to take the viewpoint that this literally means that a woman cannot speak, then we would be not going in accordance with the context. So the answer to your question is you have to have the whole picture, and that's something that for yourself, and this is obviously said in all due respect, someone who reads the Bible their whole life should understand the whole picture. And if I, perhaps by means of helping you with regard to that, there are 2 other scriptures. One is in 1 Timothy chapter 2, which I believe is referred to in the commission. 1 Timothy chapter 2, that's page 1588. And there it says, verse 11 and 12, let a woman learn in silence with full submissiveness. I do not permit a woman to teach or to exercise authority over a man, but she is to remain silent. Now you notice the asterisk gives the alternative to that, to remain calm, remain quiet. So obviously this is talking about the role of women not jumping up excitedly, arguing with others. And it's similar to what 1 Peter, and please bear with me, 1 Peter chapter 3 says with regard to a woman who is married to a non-Christian. And in 1 Peter chapter 3, that's page 1623. Mr. Stewart, have you got it?
No, I haven't, but I'm sure you'll read it to me, Mr. Jackson.
Okay. And verse 1 of 1 Peter chapter 3, in the same way you wives be in subjection to your husbands, so that if any are not obedient to the word, they may be won without a word through the conduct of their wives. Now, to take the position that the expression without a word means they would never, ever, ever speak to their husband would be a misapplication of Scripture. So the governing body, when we consider these things, is very much aware of trying to get the whole context of things. Otherwise, it's like asking two people for an opinion on something and getting three different opinions. If someone just takes one verse, they can have all sorts of opinions about it. But the work of Jehovah's Witnesses is to try and understand the whole Bible as one message from God. Now, I don't expect that you would have the same viewpoint, but I thank you for at least letting me express our viewpoint.